One.
We lit live. This is WBBC Chicago. Yeah. 77.3, your hottest digital station. Now
in digital HD sound.
What's going on, people? How you guys doing out there in radio land? It's the one and only DJ Malone, Chicago 77.3, the best place to be at on any day, really. People, Houston right now, just in case of anybody that didn't know, I don't know what's going on. 2 weeks ago, we were just having snow, and now we're in the 80s. Like, can we please figure out what this is? Somebody, hey, whoever playing with the weather, please stop. Please and thank you. With all that being said, man, I got somebody for you. Now, we usually don't interview this type of genre, but I think it needs to be an exception. The soul of it. When I think about music, I like music that has soul to it. Now, that could be anything from rock, techno, hip hop, country, boom bass, whatever. But as long as it has a story to tell me, I can relate to it. This next artist I got coming up, man, I love her cadence. I love everything that she stands for. And she's knocking down doors with her fusion of sound and blends that she has. Let's go introduce her, man. Adrianna Freeman, what's going on? Freeman, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for that great introduction. I'm really excited to be here today.
Man, I appreciate you being on here with me, and I'm ecstatic to have you on here.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. I love what you said. It's a different type of cadence, and we're doing something different with music and breaking down doors, and so this is a very exciting time. Very exciting.
Yes, it is. So, let's go into a time machine real quick. How did
Okay.
it start out for you?
Well, honestly, it's I have to give that credit to my grandparents and my father. My grandfather wanted to be a country music artist back in the day, but as you can imagine, that was just probably not going to happen for him. And so he instilled the love of country music in my father. And my father also tried to be a musician,
Okay.
but mama got pregnant with me, and so daddy had to, figure out how to make a life for us, and so he hung up his bass guitar, but he also instilled the love of country music in me.
Mm,
So I started singing and performing country at a really young age.
wow. Okay. Choir, church choir. How did that
Of,
come
of
about?
course. Yeah, yeah. So we always went to church on Sundays.
Okay.
And so we had a family a choir that was up there that was most of the family.
Okay.
And so we would sing on Sundays. But really, where I kind of got my start at singing country music really was in front of my grandparents' roadside fruit market stand.
Okay.
So they did that for years. My family is a former sharecropping family.
Okay.
That's how they made their living. And my grandparents would go and work the land and then take part of the profits from all of the co-op work that everyone
Okay.
did.
Okay.
And so they would sell those fruits and vegetables and different things, preserves and all that kind of stuff on the side of the road. And they would sit me right there, right where the customers are. And my mom would dress me up, a little yellow dress and
Okay.
yellow ribbons in my hair. And I would sit there and strum like songs like Yellow Rose of Texas, things like that
Okay.
when I was younger. So that's kind of how I got my start in country music. And that was fueled by my grandparents and my father, of course.
Inspiration wise, who you listen to musically? Like, who's the sounds you were listening to in the house?
So back in the day now, my parents, my mom, she likes country music, but my mom also likes other types of music as
Okay.
well. So my dad only played country. That was it. That's what
Yeah.
he wanted to
Yeah.
hear. And then my mom, she would also play blues music, and she would
Okay.
also play some rock music too. She
Okay.
was really into like a group called Cream
Okay.
back in the day. She really Rolling Stones, stuff like that. She
Okay.
liked to listen to. She loved the Motown sound as well.
Okay.
And so I would be hearing this country music, and then I would hear some blues music, some James Brown, all kinds of stuff. And it kind of just made this melting pot of music inside the house that, I lived in when I was younger. So I took that as I grew up, and that is what inspires my music today. Is some of the stuff that I heard back when I was younger. Back then you don't really realize what
Yeah.
great music is. And
Yeah.
so, you're now I listen to that stuff all the time because I'm like, wow, this was really good.
And here's the cold part. A lot of people didn't like Johnny Cash, but I
Mhm.
loved the way that he came on different records. And to
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
like you have to have like a Johnny Cash, you have to have
yep,
even an Elvis, maybe a Mel Waiters,
yeah,
Johnny Taylor. You have to have these guys in
yeah.
order. Because think about it. Back then, it was kind of like segregated into the music. You
That's
weren't
right.
a if you would this you obviously played.
That's what you were.
Yeah, that's what you were. And the crazy part, a lot of people don't know is a lot of black people when they did country music, it would be considered blues. So you know what I'm saying. I just want people to realize the history of kind
Yes.
of what had invented into you.
Absolutely. I think that this is a really great point because, I don't think a lot of our own people understand the contributions that we made to country music.
Yeah,
And so the country music today actually came from sounds that we created. A
yeah,
lot of the instruments, where they say, hey, you got to have a banjo and a fiddle in a country music song for it to be country. Well, those first recordings of some of these instruments were recorded by us.
yeah, yeah.
And so I don't really think that people understand that there's a really rich history of African Americans within country music. Matter of fact, they used to call it back in the day, it was called roots music. That's what it
Okay,
really
okay,
was. And
okay.
that came from, the farmland, that came from the field.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we're singing these songs. We came over, we didn't really understand how to play, violin. So we made fiddle chords, which are slurred violin notes,
Okay.
things of that nature. So I really, really think that what I have here is something that does an homage to both types, and it has the respect of both types of music, and they're playing together in a synergy that makes a completely different sound, in my
Yeah.
opinion, than what we have out there today. I listen to myself and I listen to other folks out there, and I'm like, you know what? No, don't nobody really sound like me, but that's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, that's the beautiful. See, that's the beautiful part about it is that you have all these fluctuations of sound.
Yes.
Um, and what was there was a song that you did I listened to it called Halo, I think.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I really like the build up of it because it has like a way where you could do a line dance to it. Like it kind
Mhm.
of reminds me of like a Sanaya Twain, but
Mhm.
mixed in with a fusion of maybe like what's that what's the dude that sing Tennessee Whiskey? I forget.
Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think when you can match those synergies together and fuse it and bottle that, that's a special tool.
Absolutely. I mean that the halo for me was, I really wanted to bring that Sunday morning sound
Bro.
into this song. And country music is also church music. I mean, a lot of country music people, they go to church and this is what their church sounds like,
Bro.
So I thought I could make that sound as well, because that's what naturally comes out of me, right?
Bro.
That's
Bro.
it. I don't have to try to be something. I ain't got to put on dress. I don't have to do anything. It just naturally sounds that way because of my upbringing.
Yeah.
So the song has a lot of pizzazz in it. It's a little sassy,
Yeah.
but then you have your country music. Those country licks are unmistakable. You
Yeah.
know exactly what's going on there. But
Uh-huh.
then you have that bass, right? That
Yeah.
bottom, that doo 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 doo
Yeah.
doo doo
Yeah.
doo,
Yeah.
that is driving it. And so I wanted to fuse those two together, and that's what Halo came out to be. And I was super excited. Matter of fact, the people that are singing background, now we have some special background singers on there as well, but
Okay.
a lot of them are my family. My mom, my
Wow.
dad, my sister. We all jumped in the booth. Everybody had their part, and we made that choir sound in the background that you're seeing there. So
Wow.
I just, I love making music. I love making country music, but I like making country music that comes from my heart, that is
Right.
true to my upbringing. And
I
so
like
that's
that.
what you're getting.
And in essence, you never got away from your roots. I
No,
think
no.
that's so important to let people know, hey yo man, this is who I am. This is where I came
Mhm.
from. These are the sounds of what I've experienced, and I'm putting that into the universe. So
Yeah.
I really do like that. I'm really interested to know when you're making the track. And because you're putting in a lot of sounds, a lot of, just like you said, to build it up. How is that process for you in the recording studio?
Well, the one that I'll tell you, the one that took the most time, and that was the price. It took
Okay.
the most time. That song was cut three times before
Wow.
we got the version that you guys hear, because for me it just wasn't hitting it. Either it was too country and it was overtaking the blues licks, or
Mm.
it was too bluesy and it was no longer country music anymore. And so we had a real hard time trying to fuse those two together so that one didn't stomp on the other one, and it just, they rode together.
Yeah.
And so I try to produce a lot of my stuff myself, but
Wow.
I'm not a quote unquote musician, meaning like I play an instrument extremely well.
Right.
I play enough to write a song, and that's about it. I really shine behind the microphone. So I had to go in search of a producer who would be able to listen to what I was saying, because every time we kept trying to cut the song, like I said, it just wasn't right.
Right.
And so, matter of fact, when we cut this song, this would be the third time we went into the studio to lay the song down. When we cut it, the Nashville musicians, and now let me tell you something, these Nashville musicians, they are the best in the world.
Right.
They
Yeah.
usually get it in one take, and you just
Yeah.
like, wow, thank you, that was amazing. But this time they even had to cut it twice,
Wow.
because the country started to overtake the blues, and I was like, okay, this is not what I need. And so what I was trying to tell them was that there is a sound that I am looking for.
Right.
And so we kept chasing it, and we finally ended up with the price, and I was just floored with it. So it is
Wow.
something that, you go in, you lay down just a scratch track just to get something down. And then I worked with a producer on this one to help me bring out the sounds that I wanted to, and help with the transitions, because that's another thing, is that a lot of times blues music songs are very short because it's
Yeah.
so repetitive, the ear gets used to hearing it,
Yeah.
right? And so you have to continue to change that melody, but not change it so much that it starts to be strange, but that it drives and it flows in the song. And then you have the country elements underneath as well. So that's what really was the hard problem, was trying to
Mm.
make those transitional changes musically.
I like the fact that you know what you're talking about. A lot of people, like, I talk to a lot of artists and they're just, hey, I heard the beat and I liked it. But I like the fact that you're very integral on, hey, this needs to sound like this. This drum is a little bit too much. Bring that down. I like the fact, and maybe because the instrument background, because when you play instruments, you understand how to arrange a song.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
kudos to your parents for even bringing that out and putting it on there and everything. So let's talk about the single real quick, man. Why the
Sure.
name? Why the name?
Well, so this song really was about choices, right? And how, a lot of writers, we write from personal experiences and things within our lives. And so I'm the same. I take from my own personal experiences, and or something I saw, or something that just moved me and I wanted to write about it. So this one was something that I had envisioned years ago. And I
Okay.
when I wrote the song, I was writing it with the video in mind. I was like, I
Okay.
know what the visual's gonna look like, but I also know what the story is gonna be. And so it's a cautionary tale about two people who let their anger turn into wrath and drive them to do something that's unforgivable, right?
Right.
And so I do have a strong Christian background as well, and so I wanted to bring a little bit of that element in there. So you have a physical side, but you also have a spiritual side.
Right.
And you see, this is what's happening in the physical world, but this is really what's going on right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And this is ultimately going to lead you to a path of destruction, simply because you got angry and you made the wrong choice. So when you hear the price is high, will you pay? And they say, I don't care, I want it anyway. That means they don't care what it costs. If it
Yeah.
costs them their very soul, they are willing to make this person miserable. They want to hurt this person so bad
The
that it
ultimate
drives
hater.
them to do the unspeakable. Yeah, right, right. Which is why the Bible tells us, don't, be angry, but sin not. Don't let the
Yeah.
sun go down on your wrath, because you never know what could happen. And unfortunately, in the story of Sally and Meeks, that's what happened to them. So
Right.
it's about a couple that is, breaking up. Sally's a hardworking woman, and she's been supporting her man, who is Meeks, who's a blues player. And so he out here running the streets, and she comes home and she catches it, and she loses it,
Right.
because she's like, I've been doing all this for you. And so she takes the very essence of what makes Meeks Meeks, which is his ability to play the guitar as well as his bass guitar, because that's what he did. That was his identity. And she wanted
Right.
to destroy that. So that's where that song comes from. And I know I kind of went really deep in there on
No,
y'all, but
I
that's the
like
type
it.
of writer I am.
Hey, I like that. Let me ask you this: as and just as an artist and a writer,
Sure.
are you have you dealt with your pain? Because a lot of times we like as people as artists, there's always some truth behind that with the pain
Absolutely.
side and stuff. Have you dealt with that? And then if so, how did you come out up out of that?
Yes. So Halo, unfortunately, hails from almost a true story. There's been a couple of people in my life that this situation has happened to. And so I wrote Halo to weave the story together, to produce an outcome. The price is also something. I was divorced many years ago, and I was very angry and very bitter
Mm.
about that divorce. And, but I will say, my ex-husband and I handled it with a lot more grace than Sally and Meeks did.
I hope so.
there, might, there might have been an alleged fire or two started.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that song was actually almost a little cathartic for me as well, because it talked about the fact of being hurt and wanting to hurt this person because you were so hurt, but
Mm.
making a different choice. I made a different choice. I didn't decide to go down to the crossroads and make a choice like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of people go through these situations, and so music writing for me is very cathartic. There's another song that we're hopefully going to release a little bit later on this year called Bluer Than Bluegrass. And
Okay.
it talks about some of that pain and stuff that I went through. Matter of fact, this whole album, which I'm praying fingers crossed that we're going to release later this year,
Okay.
given the right situation. But the album is called Lessons I've Learned. And
I like
every
that.
song on the album is a quote unquote lesson that I've learned, or maybe I've heard about, or a person that's in my life has experienced.
I
And so
like that.
there's a lesson for each song.
I think though too is when you're making these tracks and everything, and as you're making them, you start to realize, wow, like I overcame that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I
Yeah.
can I can tell you a story about this is what I went through at that time.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I think, and then when 10 years from now, you're gonna look back at that and look back at that piece, and I said I did that beautifully.
Absolutely. That's the another thing a lot of people don't know about me is, my relationship with the music business has not been, life wasn't a crystal stair, that's for sure.
Bro.
And I came out many, many years ago, but it was different. It was a different time and place. And so music wasn't very kind to me. And so I went silent for 10 years because no,
Wow.
I couldn't write or create anything of meaning that meant anything to me. I couldn't, it was all dark and just nothing uplifting, nothing positive.
Bro.
It wasn't going to impact people positively. It probably would just make them cry the whole day. So I took 10 years to heal my heart and build myself back up to where I could go back at this music, this genre in particular, because I've only ever tried to do country music,
Bro.
and do exactly what you said, that I was gonna this album is my sophomore album. I was going to put out the best album of work that I could, and that way, if this time it still didn't work out, it didn't resonate with people, and I didn't make it to that goal that I want to make it to, that's okay, because I really, really gave it my best. I did not quit. I showed back up,
Bro.
and I made a record that I could be proud of. 10 years from now, I'm still going to be proud of this work.
And see, and that's the beauty part about it because that's an artist. I'm not
Mhm.
worried about clout. I'm not worried about the what the fans say. You're doing this for you, and I feel like when you do it for you, that's the most authentic thing that you could do.
I agree. I agree. I mean, shoot, if you in the music business to make money, you ain't in the right business.
Yeah, yeah,
It don't happen for all of us like that. So for me, it was more so I just felt like there was this unfinished thing. Matter of fact, my father, who has been very supportive driving force, he's been here with me the whole time. And he came to me 2 years ago and he was like, honey, let's give it one more shot. That's what he
Yeah,
always says, one
yeah.
more shot. And I was like, oh, Dad, I don't know. You know how country is. I don't know. I don't. He's like, well, things seem to be changing, and let's just let's hard and one more shot. And I was like, all right, Dad. We're going to give it one more shot, but this
Okay.
time I'm going to do the music that I feel good about. I'm going to put out records that I want to listen to, that I think people want to listen to. And I'm going to be very, very honest in my delivery of my music, as well as the visual aids that you see. So,
That's what's up.
yeah, I just was like, I'm not afraid. I got something to say, and I'm going to say it. And, if it resonates with someone, it heals somebody, it leaves a positive impression, and shoot, I've done my job. But if I can make a little money too, hey, that's
Right.
great. That's icing on top.
So let me ask you this. Born and raised in Alabama, or where you from?
I'm from Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
so up north Florida really is just right by Georgia, right near the Florida Georgia line is where it
okay.
is.
All right. So um, I think too is that when now in especially now when you have different infusions of music and everything, we've seen it time and time again with Lil Nas X,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think he did a couple tracks, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of infusion going on, so
Hmm.
the sound is starting to change. It's okay to be, like, oh, I could do Afro beat with trap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
or I could do country with rock or rock with hip hop. It's
Hmm.
okay more now than ever to do
Yes.
to be different. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I think that's a
absolutely.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, timing is everything, and so back when, we tried to do this back then, it probably just was not the right time for it. I mean, I don't think anybody should have to go through anything like that anyway, but it was what it was. And so here now there's been um a new market of country music listeners, right? That
Yeah.
typically weren't listening to country before, but because their favorite artist is now doing a country album, and or now, using some country elements in their music, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Um that fan base is coming over, and guess what they're doing? They're searching for others that are just like that. They're like, well, who else is out there? Are there
Yeah.
other Black people who sing country? I don't, you know what? Let me look this up.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
see what's going on. And so I think it's a really exciting time for people to be different and to step out and not be afraid. But at the same time, there's still some stuff that we have to deal with. But at the end of the day, what real country music fans are after is authenticity, right? If
Yeah.
you show up and you are not singing from your heart, you just over here trying to, do something, they don't see that, and it's not going to go over well. But when they really believe you and you really reach into yourself and put out a product that comes from your heart, and they can feel that, it don't matter what you look like. They're gonna follow you to the ends gone. That's just how country music fans are. They're some of the most honest in the world, and they're some of the most loyal as well. And so that's what
Right.
I would tell people. Always ask, well, what was it like? What was it like? I was like, well, it was about what you imagined. I was like, but at the end of the night, at the end of the show, I had made new fans. And it wasn't because they just came to see a token person up there singing. They actually believed what I was doing and believed in
Mm.
my artistry and became long life fans. So, that's the thing about country. And I think it's a little like hip hop too, because the
Yeah.
culture is very important. Like, you can't just wake up one day, I'm gonna be a country music singer, and think it's gonna go well. It's not. You have to ingratiate yourself in it, immerse yourself within the culture, and grow up in it. So when you start
Wow.
singing these songs, they come across as authentic, because like I said, they can smell a fake from a mile away. They'll tell
Wow.
you too.
But you said a note to me that really kind of stroked to me, and it really put me in a clear, well, not clear, but kind of like a wild type of thing. You said, like, I don't want to be the token country
Mhm,
girl, and
mhm.
and and people don't realize, especially in that field, it kind of like a white guy coming into hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Automatically you get tokenized because of what you look like.
The
Now,
outer package.
whether people do that on purpose or not, it still happens. And
Yes.
so, when you are coming up and when you're starting to do these things and you're growing as you're going, and it's
Yes.
like, okay, and I even have more respect for you because I can only imagine your journey as that, as like this perceived black girl. Oh, well, what is he doing here? Why is he here? All the questions and everything else like that. You
Yeah.
now you have to prove yourself double time
Double
because
time.
now I have to prove myself as a singer, but as a person, as a black woman that can make it into your eyes that I'm justified to be here.
Right, right. And see that's the important thing, right? That is what really is the crux. It's like, well, what have you done to earn your spot at the table? Because
Right.
in some areas it's perceived as us and them music, that kind of thing. And I hate that. I think that's ridiculous. But it does happen. So, for me, what I've had to overcome is exactly what you said. First of all, they're like, well, what is she doing up there? What are you doing here in the first place? And then, okay, well, are you authentic? How many country songs do you know? Who did you listen to? Then
Yeah.
they start trying to grill me, right?
Yeah.
And so then they realize, wait a minute, she does know what she's talking about here. And then it's about the music. So they're already looking for a reason sometimes to say, oh, see, that ain't real country, or that's not authentic because
Right.
see, she's playing blues here, or oh, that you don't sound a certain way.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem. I said, well, what do you think a black female country artist is supposed to sound like? What
Right.
is that in your mind? Because it really hasn't been done that often. Now it's a lot more of
Yeah.
us out there, but shoot, back when I was doing it, wasn't but two or three of us out there. It wasn't
Right.
very
Right.
many.
Right.
And so that's the thing. It's like, what is that sound? And so that's what we're having. This is what I'm having to teach people and having to be a beacon for, that the black women, we have a certain sound, a certain conviction, a certain soul in our voice, and that's just there inherently because of who we are.
Yeah.
And so to say that we need to sound a certain way is trying to take a square peg and put it into a circle, or vice
Right.
versa. We don't fit the build. We don't look like what they think it should look like. We don't sound like what they think it should sound like. And so therefore now that's not country,
Right.
because
Right.
I don't have anybody to say this is what you sound like. Now it's more accepting with the men because they do have a person that they can look to. They can look to Charlie Pride. They can look at the
Okay. Yeah.
Cleve Francis. They can look to Trini Triggs. They can look to some of these other people and the newer folks out there now, Kane
Yeah.
Brown and some of these others. And they're like, okay, see, that's what it sounds like. Darius Rucker, this is what it sounds like.
Right.
But for
Right.
us, we're underrepresented in the genre. And so we have to carve out a place for ourselves. We have to make that sound. And that's what I'm doing, is I'm establishing, well, this is what a black female country artist sounds like in my head.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
hey, take it or leave it, but we're here to stay.
I respect that, man. I do, cause I think a lot of times, man, we don't look at like as who we are right now. We don't see it years down the line. So the
Right.
next person that comes up will see you and say, "Hey, I want to strive to be just like her." You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. That's the biggest hope that any artist could ever have, is that, you leave a mark, and such a powerful one, where people, whole genres, whole sounds are catered to sound like you, because they're like, this is what this sounds like now. When you're establishing right now, this is such an exciting time for black women in country music, because we are establishing what our sound is going to be. And we're not letting anyone tell us what it's going to sound like. This
Well,
is what we sound like, so it's in a very exciting time. And not many people get that. So I'm glad that you clocked it, because that's exactly what my mission is to define what this is, define what it is, so we don't have to continue to go through this
yeah,
anymore.
because sometimes, and I tell people this, sometimes you're not the one that's gonna popularize it. You're the one that's gonna make it even a thought that it can happen. So
Yes.
So sometimes, and it's life is kind of like you when maybe you're on a track meet and you're passing the baton to the next person.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that person has to kick open the door for you to actually sit in it.
Right, to walk through, absolutely, 100%, 100%. And that's a lot of people ask me about what I think about Beyonce's album and stuff like that. And I said, well, I can tell you what I think about Beyonce. I think that what she brought, a platform, a whole new group of people to country music. And that is the power of what a platform her size can do. She was like, let's talk about it, let's have a discussion about it. And
Right.
so she shed the light on a lot of other Black artists that people hadn't even heard of. People did, I mean, Tanner Adele, Brittany
Mm.
Spencer, Terry, like the Tierra Kennedy. I mean, have you heard of these women before? No,
Yeah.
not before they were on her album. But then people found out that they really liked their music as well, and that there are others out there. So you're right, sometimes somebody has got to put on that stiletto and come through there and kick that door down, and that way so the rest of us can be seen.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
So, what do you do on your free time? What do you like to do on your free time, man?
Well, I am an independent artist, so I work. So a lot of that free time is taken up by working. But I do like to just kind of chill. I live by the water. I live in St. Pete,
Okay.
in Florida now, and so I like to take just time for myself sometimes. My favorite pastime right now is watching Real Housewives.
Okay.
Um, Those women are crazy. It's good TV. It's entertaining. Takes you away from the hustle and bustle of the day. But what I really enjoy is spending time in the studio. So I'm
Okay.
really hoping to get back in there maybe a little later on this year, to start to crank out, some new stuff. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, other than that, I'm a pretty boring person.
Oh man, aren't we all, man? Any live shows, performances coming up, anything like that?
So we have our fingers crossed. We're thinking the summer of this year. Some things need to line up for us to get there though. And hopefully I'll have some really good news in the next month or so.
Okay.
So we'll have an opportunity to do some really big venues, but we'll see. It's all in God's plan. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed on it, but hopefully the summer.
Okay, okay. I would tell you to go South by Southwest, but it's like right around the corner. It's in Austin, Texas. It's a music festival, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they do that each year, and it'd be a lot of people there, a lot of people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, if you ever can, man, get to South by Southwest because I think that'd be cool for your artists. So,
Absolutely. 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 Like I said, we'll start taking a real look at that, because that's another thing is like people don't really understand when I say that I just came back to music like 2 years ago. I literally just got here 2 seconds ago. And so
wow.
the first thing was to get the music done, get everything recorded, then try to find some marketing and things like that. So we are literally just getting started after like a 10-year hiatus. So
Wow.
I'm getting there, and I believe that we will be doing some touring, because that's kind of the next step in the evolution, right? As you
Yeah.
make the music, you support it, you do promotion on it, and then you go out and tour. That's how
Yeah.
it works. So that's the next step.
What is the difference now between promoting and then 10 years from now in promoting?
Oh Lord. Okay, so are we saying 10 years in the future, or how it was promoting back when I
Yeah,
was when
yeah. When 10 years in the
back?
past. Yeah.
Oh man. Yes, so it was very different. Very different. Matter of fact, it was actually a shock to me, because back then, like, MySpace was popping. There wasn't no
Okay. Yeah.
Instagram, wasn't no TikTok, wasn't this social media stuff. That was, there was like Facebook. And people had CDs in the back of their cars, and you
Right.
set
Right.
up a merchandise table, and that's how you sold your stuff. Or you walked around with demos, you mailed them out to every record label. They didn't open them or even returned them. So it was a very different way, of marketing. It was really like grassroots marketing back in the
Yeah.
day, because we didn't have the ability to get into the big promotional spaces, because the money, like that's for majors. Independents, we just couldn't break through that. But
Right.
now it's a lot different. Matter of fact, I didn't even know about Spotify or anything like that. So us coming back into music, because when I say I didn't do music, I didn't even listen to the radio for 10 years. I was
Wow.
that mad with it.
Damn.
So I'm not listening to nothing. But so now it's different. Now it's all digital. And now you have the ability to get your music out there to a much wider audience
Right.
than you
Right.
did before. Like there was no Zoom calls with DJs or anything like that. You had to go there. You was in a little bus,
Yeah.
it was rough. It was not easy, so it was actually physically driving to all these towns or for country music stations that could be anywhere, way out in the backwoods somewhere.
Mm.
So it was rough. It was a lot harder to market yourself back then as it is now. I think now is the internet and the way things are done, digital marketing, all of that stuff is good, and it's making it a lot easier for us independents to get out there as well.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
Mhm.
Where do you hope to see yourself in the next 3 years?
Well, the next 3 years, I hope that at least I will get like a best new artist of the year or
Okay. Okay.
emerging artist of the year. We got to crawl before we walk.
Okay.
But I would like to see that. And or like to see like one of my songs, like even if I'm not singing it, somebody cuts my song and it becomes a number one. That would be great.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, just one step at a time. I mean, really, whatever God has for me, that's where I'm headed.
Yeah. Right.
So I mean, I have big dreams and aspirations for this, absolutely. But at the same time, I'm wise enough to know that you can't be too high on the highs or too low on the lows.
I like
So
that.
steady is
I,
the course.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Where can the people find you, at, man? Everything.
Oh yeah. So you can find me at www.adriannafreeman.com. You can also find me on TikTok at Adrianna Freeman Music. You can find me on Instagram at official.adrianna.freeman. And you can get out there, find stuff about the music, stuff about what we're doing. You can see all the videos. That's at YouTube, Adrianna Freeman. So yeah, we're out there. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. The music is out there, and please listen to it. And thank you for all of your support. I really
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
man. I appreciate this, man. I really do. Like I said, I like taking a chance on things that are different, and I think you got lightning in a bottle right now.
Thanks.
I definitely love the personality and everything. So keep doing you to the best of your ability. Do not stop.
That's what I'm here for. Being persistent. I'm not gonna give up. That's why my dad was like, "Let's give it one more shot." He's in
Yeah,
his 70s, so he's ready to go.
yeah.
But yep, we're gonna do it. That's what we're here doing.
We gotta get a T-shirt, man. One more shot.
And
We gotta get a T-shirt,
oh,
man.
you done gave him an idea. Trust me, he'll be listening to this. He'll be like, "Oh, yeah, make shirts now."
I can see it right now, man. I like that. Just one more shot.
One shot.
I got
Nope,
you.
that's what he says. Let's give it one more shot.
Definitely. Make sure you guys check out all the singles, man. Definitely. I really take a look at her catalog, man. Not just the single, but the whole catalog. I really do appreciate you guys, tapping into her. Let's run her analytics up, man. Please and thank you. Run the analytics up and everything else like that. Before you go, I always
Yes.
ask artists if they could do a drop for me. You're gonna say
Okay.
your name, and I'm
Okay.
rocking with DJ Malone.
Okay. All right. You let me know when I'm ready.
Go ahead.
All right, folks. This is Adrianna Freeman, and you're rocking with DJ Malone.
Boom, fireworks, explosions, everything in between, man. Make sure you guys get in tune with her and everything else like that, man. I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's the one and only DJ Malone, Chicago 77.3. We out. Wow.
We lit live. This is WBBC Chicago. Yeah. 77.3. Your hottest digital station.
Now in digital HD sound.